Well, there are moments in history where we have no power to change things. We're not in control, but we do have the influence to make a difference. And that's what we see here in the book of Esther, chapter 4. So today's lesson, for those of you who've been doing the daily lectionary reading, you know that we started in the book of Esther on Friday. The reading for today is Esther chapter 4, and it tells the story of how Mordecai persuades his niece, who is the queen, Esther, to speak up and use her voice to influence the king. Now remember, Esther is Jewish, Mordecai is Jewish. They are exiled in the nation it's a kingdom that is from India to Ethiopia. This is over 2,000 miles on the map. So if you started driving and drove all the way to Los Angeles, that's about as far as it is from Ethiopia to India. We find that the king rules over 127 provinces. He is ruling in a way that everyone knows he's in charge. He is to be feared. In fact, his wife Vashti, the queen before Esther, because she would not do what he said, because she would not obey his command, he decided to take away her status as queen and to get a new queen. And this was to send a message because, well, if the queen doesn't obey the king and people get word of that, then all the men are going to stop being in charge. Oh no, heaven forbid, right? So here we have Esther, who becomes queen after the previous queen is kicked out of her position because she wouldn't obey the king. She knows she's kind of treading on thin ice here. So Esther becomes queen after Vashti. She knows that she can't share openly that she's Jewish. She keeps this information to herself. And what happens in Esther chapters 1, 2, and 3, we find out that Mordecai, who is Esther's uncle, first kind of encourages and protects her as she becomes queen. Then he's sitting at the gate and finds out that there's a plot to assassinate the king. He tells about that plot and foils the plot. If you see something, say something. In chapter 3, he becomes aware that because he will not bow down to the king, there is a plot to not only kill Mordecai, but to kill all of the Jews. And this plot we become aware of in chapter 3. He makes Esther aware of the plot in chapter 4. So we have this moment where the entire future of the Jewish people in this kingdom is under threat. Now remember, the Jewish people are existing as a remnant within a majority culture. And this has been true for the Jewish people for most of history. I'm taking a class this semester on the intersections of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And what we know to be true is that the Jewish people for most of history have been either in a majority Christian or a majority Muslim place. They tended to live in areas where they're overrun or overtaken by other majority cultures that impose their religious views on the Jewish people. So there's this constant tension between trying to maintain identity, but also trying to fit in. Now, in the book of Esther, we see Mordecai speaking up and speaking out because he knows that there's a threat. And what he knows to be true is he does not have the power to change things, but he does have the ability to use his voice and his influence to warn Esther and to have Esther warn the king. This is one of the great stories in Jewish tradition. It shows the power of one voice to protect and save a whole people. And it also shows that an unlikely hero can come from anywhere. There's an opportunity that we all have, and sometimes you're the minority voice, but you know what's right. That you need to speak up for those who need protecting. I think this is a great encouragement. The takeaway for me is to recognize that if we're in a city, a state, a nation, where we see that injustice or threat is there, that we speak up and speak out, because it's not just about protecting our own people. It's also about protecting all people. Recently, I had an opportunity to be downtown in Nashville, and I heard Councilwoman Zulfat Suara say, if you come for one of us, you come for all of us. I think that's one of the key messages in this passage that we can take away. So, would love to hear what you think. Hope we'll see you again next week, and keep on reading.